I'm going to give you 3 principles for powerfully and efficiently navigating complicated soulmate relationships or post interpersonal traumas, navigating relationships post interpersonal trauma. Okay? Now, I'm going to be talking a lot about what's been happening with me, giving you just a lot of vulnerability in this episode because I kind of have been crashing out a little bit. Like over the past week, maybe the past 2 weeks, I've been really just like going through it emotionally and like heart relatedly. So, where do we even start? Where do we even begin? Oh my God. Okay. I think vulnerability is the easiest when you just kind of like rip it off like a band-aid and you just like let it all flow out. Let's start there. Perfect. So, I don't always see myself as a woman who has been traumatized. And, I don't like to be the victim. And I think that's why in a lot of episodes or emails or courses, I'll talk about things and I'll give myself kindness and compassion. And if I feel an emotion, I will let it flow and I will express that freely, of course. But I try not to paint myself as the victim of terrible, horrible things. I don't think that a victim story is helpful. And also, I was just raised by a perpetual victim. And so I'm just very much tired. I don't like a victim story. I don't like seeing myself as a victim. Which is nice when you're like a high-powered, successful, ambitious woman, you're a Capricorn moon, you're a Scorpio rising, you've got this strong energy and this strong drive for success, and you're like doing all these things. Like, it's so great not to see yourself as a victim. And I think that will always be true for me, but it gets a little bit tricky when you don't see yourself as a victim and you're comparing your story to everyone else's story and you don't have the same results as everyone else and you're not reaching the same markers as everyone else and it's not as easy for you as it is for everyone else. And then you start asking the question, what's wrong with me? What's broken with me? Why can't I do the thing that I want to do? Why can't I receive? Why isn't it happening for me? Why isn't it coming together for me? Like, what did I do wrong? I don't understand. I'm doing everything that I know to do. And it's like, well, yes, you are doing everything, but also you didn't start at the same place that everybody else started with. Other people started off with 2 loving parents. Other people started off with 2 more supportive parents. Other people started off with parents who were more mentally and emotionally safe. Other people weren't abused by their siblings. Other people grew up with more support. And so even though you might look the same in terms of your age or your race or where you grew up or where you went to school, it's not always exactly the same. When we're talking about what's going on inside of you, it's not necessarily the same as what you're seeing outside. So in terms of my relationships, I have been very controlling and just like 2.5 this week. Okay, the past couple of days, I have been sleeping. On my birthday, we won't go into the full story, but I ended up celebrating by going and picking up some weed, and it has been the most amazing everything in the world. Okay. It has been so good. I have been sleeping and just resting and like not working that hard this week, which just feels so amazing. And so as I've been spending more time just outside and sitting and just like meditating, just connecting with the universe and just meditating and just having these realizations. And actually it started when I was coming back home from my walk on my birthday. And I was like, wouldn't that be so interesting? Wouldn't that just be a lesson that would make sense for somebody like you with so much Scorpio energy? I'm talking to myself. Wouldn't that be a great lesson for you to learn, a Scorpio such as yourself? A lesson on control, a lesson on black and white thinking, because with Scorpio energy, Plutonic energy, you kind of really have intensity. Like in general, with Scorpio energy, you kind of really get an intense reaction out of people, or people have an intense reaction to it. I either love this thing so much, I want all of this thing, I'm obsessed with this thing, or I absolutely hate this thing so much. And it's definitely an experience that I have. Like I said, I'm a Scorpio rising, and so if you don't know astrology, that just means that I kind of present in the world as a Scorpio, and I have a very like Scorpionic personality basically. So people respond to me, oh my God, I love you so much. I want to be in your world. You're so amazing. I want everything that you do. I want everything that you are. And then a second later, oh my God, this is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely ridiculous. You're the worst person ever, right? So like that intensity is something that happens a lot, not just with how people respond to Scorpio, but how Scorpio looks at the world. Scorpio can kind of get caught up in a very black or white way of thinking, because you're kind of either all into something or you're either completely repulsed by that thing, and it's just like just two extreme sides of the spectrum, and there's no energy in the middle. And as I've been walking and meditating and all this stuff, I've just been understanding that my way of seeing the world has been unhelpful and unsupportive. I really like science, and all of this has a purpose, I swear. You know this. If you're new here, I might kind of make 101 different points and go on a million 2.5s, but it all makes sense, and by the end of the episode, we're all really happy and we're better people for it. So just follow along with me. I like science. And what I found with people who really like science or really like things with numbers is that we're people who really like a formula. I really like something that I can understand. And this is something that I bring into my teachings all the time. I'm going to introduce it in this episode, but inside of my courses, like the Receiver's Mindset, you have my 7-step process for receiving now. I'm always going to give you a process. Inside of the free resource library, you have the 6 steps from stuck to self-aware bundle, which is me giving you my process, right? My formula, my plug-in for you to identify whatever limiting belief is between you and your current goal, right? So it's like, okay, I like a formula. I like a science. And relationships and things like human connection and things like emotion can be very difficult for people like me who really like science and who really like a formula. It's interesting. I wouldn't consider myself someone who really likes math. I can kind of get into like chemistry math, and I could also kind of get into like physics math. But in general, we don't have time to get into it. The point is, I really like science. And being someone who studies and then applies what she studies and then gets great results in the world, I like to create a formula. I like to create a formula that works. I like to create something that I can really count on. Relationships don't really have a formula. And that's something that really impacts me. No, let me say that in a different way. That's something that really has been a source of frustration for me. Because I have been, over the past several years, I have been really trying to create the perfect relationship. And notice how I said the perfect relationship and not an emotionally fulfilled relationship, because those are kind of two different things. When I say I've been trying to create the perfect relationship, I mean I've been trying to create a relationship that looks like some sort of cookie cutter, perfect example of what love should be. This is kind of like me trying to overcorrect, me trying to go to a different extreme. I grew up with extreme chaos, an extremely dysfunctional relationship that my parents had. Extremely dysfunctional. And so one of my worst fears for all of my life has been repeating my parents' relationship. And my parents' relationship was a lot of things, but one of the things that it mostly was on again and off again. On again and off again. The only consistency was 1 second we're on, give it about 4 months, and it's going to be off again. And I didn't want that. And I started making choices in my relationships very on that were rooted from that perspective of what I don't want. Now, if you know manifestation, you know that you're supposed to focus on what you do want instead of what you don't want. Because what you focus on is going to manifest. What you focus on, you're going to attract, right? And that's a very basic explanation of it. It's super nuanced, but we don't have time to get into the nuances. You want to learn more about the nuances? Buy a course. Go listen to all of the other hundreds of thousands of episodes of this podcast, right? So, okay. I've been trying to create this perfect cookie cutter relationship. But early on in my life, the choices I was making in relationships, romantic relationships, were from the perspective of, I don't want to be like my parents. So when I was in high school, I had a situationship, which is very toxic, like a toxic relationship with this guy who was just like kind of the worst. And also I was kind of the worst, but not in the same way that he was kind of the worst. We don't have time to get into it. So I was in this toxic relationship with this guy who was kind of the worst. And I remember we had a super on again, off again relationship and connection. And we got into an argument, and typically when he and I would like get into it or something and we would stop talking, I would be the person who would like reinitiate contact, and then we would just like, be talking as if nothing ever happened, whatever. So we got into it. We stopped talking, and I just was like, I'm never going to reach out to him again. And then he graduated from our high school. He was a year older than me. Actually, nope, don't even go there. Don't even go there. I don't want to go there. We should never go there. I was just going to talk about his birthday, which I think is today. I didn't want to say that, but here we are. Anyway. So anyway. He graduated high school. He was a year older than me. And we technically never spoke again, but we did speak some years later. I had like DM'd him on Twitter during a moment of weakness, and then I realized very quickly why I should not do that, and then I almost cussed him out, and then we have not spoken since. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. And we don't have time to talk about the dreams, because we will be talking about dreams in this episode, but not dreams with that guy. Let's move on. So that happened. And that was a toxic relationship. And I ended that toxic relationship because I recognized the pattern of being on again, off again. I don't like this. This doesn't make me feel good. And, you know, it's very interesting because at the time I wasn't like, I don't like the things that he says about my body. I don't like how he treats me. It was just, I don't like that this is an on again, off again relationship. So when I was 16 years old, when I was 17 years old, you know, I didn't understand how unhealthy the relationship dynamic was, but I knew that one characteristic of on again, off again. I knew that I didn't like that. I knew that I didn't want that. I knew that that wasn't my future. I knew that that needed to end. So I just never spoke to him again. We never spoke again. Hallelujah. Technically, we don't have time. Just move on. We will never be together again. That's the point. So then what happened? Then I went to college. And I talk about the incident a lot. And the incident is one of those things where you can talk about it from a million different perspectives. You can talk about it from the perspective of the education system. You can talk about it from a perspective of failure in that regard, from a perspective of like a leadership failure. You can talk about it from the perspective of like being bullied, and then you can talk about it from the perspective of like an unsafe relationship dynamic with a narcissist. So I talk about the incident kind of a lot, but only because it just applies to so much in life and it taught me so much. It was deeply traumatizing, but it taught me so much. But here's what's relevant about the incident. The incident was hard for me. The incident was really, really hard for me because I really wanted to marry that guy. And it's interesting, my perspective now, because I almost don't remember what it was like being in it. Like, I have some memories and some experiences that like stick with me. But when I look back on those memories, I'm usually thinking about the negative stuff. So I'm just kind of like, I don't understand why you wanted to marry that guy so badly, but I get it. He was really handsome. I get it. He was really handsome, rotten on the inside, but super handsome. So, okay. The incident was hard for me because it was just a situation that I kept going back to. And it was a situation that I kept trying to fix. And it was a situation where I kept trying to bring it together. I kept trying to push it and bring it together. I was like Gretchen Wiener. And I was just, is that her name? Wiener? Gretchen Wieners? I don't know. I was like Gretchen from Mean Girls. And the relationship was Fetch. And I was trying so fucking hard to make Fetch happen. And I just was constantly having these moments of disappointment and heartbreak because this relationship that I want and that I desire so badly is not coming together. And this is at the same time as I'm like having this spiritual awakening. So I'm awakening to like all of these psychic gifts and like opening up to psychic gifts for the first time. Like, I kind of wish I could go back and relish in that a little bit more because it was magical and it was kind of spectacular. And it was like, oh my God, like I can feel everything and I can sense things and I can know things and wow, right? So anyway, I'm opening up to my spiritual identity and like my spiritual gifts. And at the same time, there's this little spirit baby that I come into awareness of. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so crazy because I like have this spirit baby and I also am experiencing like phantom pregnancy. And the only reason I know what phantom pregnancy is because I was Googling, feel pregnant but not pregnant. And I've never been pregnant. But I was having these like phantom pregnancy experiences. And it was so weird. So I'm like growing my first YouTube channel, growing my business in college, doing really well in college. I have all of these things that I'm doing, like extracurriculars on my college campus. Then I have this relationship with this guy who works at my college campus, who I really, from my perspective, love so much and want to be with so deeply. And then I'm having these phantom pregnancy symptoms, and my emotions just feel so high-end, and everything just feels so intense because I'm also so psychic. And this is like my first soulmate connection ever in the world. Everything is so intense. I'm also 19 years old. So like there's that intensity. Just like the intensity of being 19 years old in and of itself. Like that's its own thing, you know? So, okay, there's like just so much intensity that's going on. And it's really difficult for me because I have this idea of the relationship that I'm going to have with the incident, the relationship I'm going to have with the guy. And I'm having this idea of this baby, and I'm like, oh, I really want this freaking baby because I love babies. And that's actually one of the incident and everything that I was experiencing when I was 19 years old is what really made me understand that I want to be a mother. So like, good things came out of that. But anyway, when the relationship didn't come together, I was really, really devastated. And then the more that I learned about him, the less that I liked him. I didn't like him as a person. I didn't like his personality. I didn't like his thoughts. I didn't like that man at all. So there was definitely, I hate to bag on a 19-year-old girl, so I won't do that because I love her and I respect her. What I will say is I felt a deep spiritual connection to this man on a soul level. That's absolutely true. Also, I was a little bit in love with the process of falling in love at the time. And that's not a crime because you're 19 years old. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to be. And everything else is a lot of failures on a lot of other people's parts that we just don't have time to talk about because that's not what this episode is about at all. So, okay. The incident is hard for me because I wanted that so badly. And so it was so heartbreaking to want something so badly and to not get the thing that I wanted. That was really heartbreaking for me. But every single time the incident came back around, we kind of had this kind of on and off dynamic over the course of several years. Every single time the relationship kind of came back around and he didn't show up for me, I was using that to identify my own wounds and my own traumas. When he didn't show up or he didn't respond and it triggered my inner child, I was like, gotcha. Yes, okay. I know the next thing to heal. I know the next thing to move through. I know the next thing to shift. And so it was really beautiful because what happened was I kind of, maybe in a way, we used each other. In a way. That's the best way that I can put it. Where I don't know what he was getting out of my attention. Well, actually, probably get a lot from that. So let's move on. I got a lot of healing from him doing absolutely nothing because it was so deeply triggering for me. And so every single time that he rejected me or he didn't show up for me, I healed more. And I healed so much that he just stopped being attractive to me. I healed so much that I moved past him. It's like we were no longer a vibrational match. And that's the thing with the whole living in a vibrational universe thing. You can only stay connected with people at a vibration for so long. If the vibrations are too far off, then people will kind of like ricochet or be repelled out of your life. Or you're going to have to rise up or dip down in order to stay with them and connect with them. So like, if I wanted to entertain that relationship with the man from the incident again, God, I would not, God forbid, if I lowered my vibration. Let me use a different example because I don't even like going there theoretically. Let's go back to the high school toxic person. When I messaged him on Twitter, I was really disinterested and disgusted, but he was really interested. But the way that he shows interest is by being rude and being a bitch. So that didn't work for me. However, if I was interested in reverting back to my life as a teenage girl, and I was interested in playing his stupid, emotionally immature game, then I could have been right back in that cycle. But I wasn't interested in playing that game because I had already grown past that. And because I had already grown past that and I wasn't interested in dipping down to meet him where he was repulsive to me. I had to get out of there. That relationship didn't continue. That reconnection didn't go anywhere because we are not a vibrational match. Something cannot stay in your world unless you are a vibrational match to it. So, okay. I forget why I gave that example. I was talking about the guy from the incident. Oh yeah, because I healed so much. That we were just no longer a vibrational match. There was nothing about him that was attractive to me. Nothing at all. Not even in the physical. I don't even want to go there. He was not attractive to me anymore. But when I ended the relationship, when I ended the incident, I didn't say, I've healed so much. I'm over this. I've healed so much. We're no longer a vibrational match. I said, this is not the love story that I want. This is not the connection that I want. This is not the connection that I want to tell my kids and my grandkids about. What was your experience like meeting each other and falling in love with each other? This is not the story that I want to tell them. And so that was like one of the main reasons why I ended the incident and just like walked away completely forever. Now looking back, there's a lot of reasons why, and there's a million things that were happening that contributed to me ending that relationship for good. Amen. But at the time, that's what I was focused on. And so then that kind of brings us here to the present. Because I kind of got hooked into that idea of what kind of story do you want? What kind of love story do you want? And you see those like tweets, or those stories. This is how I met my husband. When I saw her, I immediately knew she was the one. We just got together and I knew that he was the one because everything was so easy. And you hear these relationships, you hear about these connections, and at least I created this idealized version of events. You connect with the guy. The guy knows right away. You guys get together. You live happily ever after, right? Sure, there's nuances. There's conversations. Maybe there's disagreements. All of that is normal. All of that is fine. But we don't have to get into all of that because for me, that's kind of a given. But the point is, I had this idea of romance, which is okay. And yes, that's available. And yes, you get to have that. But also taking it back to what we talked about at the beginning, I'm also a victim, which is interesting. That makes things kind of spicy. Because I haven't been looking at myself as a victim. And I've been trying to navigate and create relationships that kind of look cookie cutter and are kind of perfect, except when has anything in your life ever been cookie cutter and perfect? I thought that when I left college to start this business, that it was just going to be cookie cutter and perfect. I thought I was going to leave college. I was going to continue making money. I was going to have enough money to get my own place. I was going to move back to New York City. Everything was going to be great. I was going to live happily ever after. That's not what happened. My head hit the wall. Thunk. Like, fuck. That's not what happened. I left college, came back here, start freaking the fuck out. Because, oh my God, you're an adult now. Nobody is supporting you. Nobody believes in you. Everybody's actually waiting for you to fail. Some people are actively preying on it. Like, oh my God, what if this doesn't work out for you? What if the people stop watching you? What if the people stop buying from you? Can I charge more money? Who will pay me $100 for an hour? Like, oh my God. So many fears, so many anxieties, so many worries, low self-esteem, low self-worth, low self-confidence, powerlessness. All of that shit got triggered. And it took me 5, 6 years. We're coming up on my 6-year anniversary of my business. Oh my God. 6 years in, and now I'm like, okay, I've got this. I'm understanding this. I know how this thing works. I know how to raise the price successfully. I know how to attract sales. Okay. I know how to do the things. I know how to market. I know how to create a funnel. I know how to do what I like. I know how to make money while I sleep. Okay. I know how to pay my bills. I know how to file my taxes. I know how to do the things. You know that I did not file taxes for the first 5 years that I was in business. Just fucking freaking out. Terrified. I'm going to go to jail. I was terrified that I was going to go to jail because I was not filing my taxes. Because I could not afford to file my taxes. I didn't know that you could file your own fucking taxes. So I'm just sitting here in fear, frozen. No money. It was not funny while I was in it, but I can look back and laugh today. So I've learned so much. And, you know, I wasn't just not filing my taxes. I was focusing on other things, developing other skills and, you know, all that shit. But that's not the point. The point is my journey to success in my business has not been cookie cutter, has not been perfect, has not been anything that I would have expected. And it has not been when you think about, well, I can't say when you think about successful entrepreneurship, because when you know the stories of actual entrepreneurs, I mean, yes, it kind of sort of makes sense. And my story does kind of sort of align with certain points. Like there is a lot of failure and there is a lot of not getting it right. And then eventually you get the hang of it and then you're a multimillionaire. That's the path that I'm on. But in general, when you think about it, maybe you don't think about me. When the average person thinks about being a business owner, maybe you don't think about me. Maybe you think about going to school for business. Maybe you think about immediately getting mentorship. I couldn't get mentorship immediately. I didn't feel safe with people. After being traumatized on my college campus, I did not feel safe with human beings. It was very difficult for me to receive help from people. And then, because of the unhealed shit in my past, with authority figures, with the college people, when I did receive help, they were not the right people for me. There were people who made me feel like shit, people who made me feel like I was not good enough. People who made me feel like people would never buy from me because my marketing is too pink and it's a little bit childish. Bullshit. I make thousands of dollars with my girly marketing. Fuck off. The point is, I am not living a cookie cutter perfect life. So why, in a romance, does everything have to be cookie cutter and perfect? Who created that? Who made that rule? And I've been realizing that at some point, I felt jealous, and I felt like I was comparing myself to other people and using their life as a goalpost for who I should be and what I should have and the things that I should create, which is interesting because if you know anything about me, you know that I don't do that shit. I don't do that. This is not me. Is this camera on me? This is stupid, guys. Oh my God. But that's not the point. That's not the point. Jokes aside, the point is, I'm realizing, okay, I'm learning a little thing about releasing control. I'm learning a little thing about releasing control, but also being empowered at the same time. Releasing control to be in control. Maybe I'll talk about that later. Take me back to my main point. What's my main point? I was making choices in relationships where I was just focused on what I didn't want. And I really brought that into the next soulmate connection that I had after the incident. So I kind of really do categorize my relationships. Like technically everybody is a soulmate of ours, right? You listening to this, you're my soulmate. Does that mean that we're going to get married or we're going to make love? No. We have soulmate customers, soulmate audience members, soulmate coworkers. You know, I kind of really use the term soulmate loosely, where we're all a vibrational match to each other, or we're all in each other's soul family, or we've all made agreements and kind of contracts in the non-physical before we were born to meet each other, to learn from each other, to serve one another, you know? So I believe that soulmates is a term that can be thrown around loosely. But when it comes to romance, and it comes to soulmate relationships and connections, there's not a lot of things that I would qualify as a soulmate relationship and connection. It's interesting because I'm thinking about it, and I've told you guys stories of like different guys, like the situationship, my ex-best friend's brother who I ran into at the gym. I do not consider him to be one of my soulmates. Maybe we need a different word for that, like a higher level soulmate. You know what I'm talking about? Like a real soulmate connection. We are connected by something greater than ourselves. There's something deeper here. There's something significant and substantial for us to learn from each other. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would really consider to be a soulmate relationship and connection. I haven't had many of those in my life. I've had the high school situationship, not a soulmate connection. was there parts of it that were relevant to my growth? Was it significant for me to walk away from that? Sure, yeah, but did it feel like we are connected by something deeper and something greater? No, it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like he's a boy that I wish never knew me, and like we just move on. With the incident, it's not a relationship that I would say I put on a pedestal as something that I would want to experience or something that I would want anybody else to experience. But did I have a soul connection with that man? Absolutely, yes. Did I have something deeper between me and that man where both of us learned or were given the opportunity to learn so much from each other? Yes. Was that a relationship that was so significant to my growth, my expansion, my healing, and my evolution as a human being? Yes, absolutely. That was a soulmate connection. You know what I'm saying? I talk about this guy, Eugene. Was that a soulmate connection? No. Was it a soulmate connection? No. That was a not so friends with like one night of a benefit, like that. No. I wish that we could call Eugene a one night stand. That was just a miniature thing. So when I'm thinking about soulmate relationships, I'm thinking about soulmate connections, I'm thinking about there's something greater, there's something higher, there's something calling me to a person, there's something where our souls are deeply connected for one reason or another. And there's something very serious that's happening and that's going on between us. And whether or not that ends in marriage, depends. Did it end with marriage with the incident? No, it didn't. Am I grateful for that? Hell yes, I am. So, okay. The incident happens. I walk away from the incident. I'm focused on what I don't want, which is like not against the law, but you have to focus on what you desire. Well, you don't have to do anything, but it's more supportive to focus on what you actually desire and what you actually want. So I've told you this story a million times, but it's very relevant. So I ended my connection with the incident because I was so tired of him. And I was tired of the cycle of me being like, is he going to come around this time? Is he going to show up this time? Or is he not going to show up this time? And I was just kind of like, I'm done. Like, I'm over the situation. I actually don't give a fuck. Like, fuck off for the rest of your life. Die. Okay, maybe not die. I don't know. Let's move on. The point is, I went outside to the side of my house and I was talking to my spirit guides. And I said, I want you to bring me my husband right now. I'm so ready. And this is the part where the narrator chips in and the narrator says she in fact was not ready. But she did have the right spirit. She had the right idea. But it was the wrong time. She had the right idea, but it was the wrong vibration. She had the right idea, but it was the wrong belief system, So I just ended things with the incident. Didn't really process. It was one of those things where I kind of processed throughout, but I didn't process that ending. It was just like, I'm ready for my husband. So spirit guides, angels, and ancestors are like, what about this guy? And I'm like, this guy? Who the hell is this guy? And what can I say that hasn't already been said? I look back and I see so many things differently now. There's so much that I didn't do energetically. I didn't clear space. You're not going to manifest if you don't clear space. You're not going to manifest if you don't heal. I was beating the drum of the old unsatisfying relationship where the guy doesn't show up. And then I said, okay, I'm ready for my husband. I'm ready for something that's the complete opposite of what I've just got done experiencing. I was not ready. I was ready to be ready. There's nothing wrong with being ready to be ready. But I wasn't aware of how not ready I was. You know what I mean? How unready I was? It doesn't matter. Let's move on. So, okay, we have to wrap this up in 2 seconds. I'm beating around the bush. I'm trying to find my point at the same exact time. Leaving the incident was hard until leaving the incident wasn't hard. And then I connected with this guy who I feel such mixed emotions for. And I don't like feeling mixed emotions. Even though it's normal. It's actually really normal and really natural to feel mixed emotions. And I think we talk about that inside of Love After Loss, the course, so I won't get into that. But the point is, I feel mixed emotions. And I feel shame. Because I felt this connection to this guy who basically blatantly rejected me. And this is so out of character for me. And it's been incredibly difficult for me to navigate this because of everything that has ever happened in my relationships. I'm finding my words. It's really difficult to talk about this. It's really fucking difficult to talk about this because I am feeling so much self-judgment and self-criticism. But I know that it's real, and I know that we all experience this, and I know that this is going to powerfully serve some woman, let's be honest, many women out there in the fucking world to at least know that, like, you are not alone. I'm somebody who likes science, and I'm somebody who likes formulas. And the basic formula in relationships is that if a man does not treat you well, you leave. Or that if a man rejects you, then you walk away from that connection, which is so real. And that just makes sense. And I hate talking about this because I trust myself, but there's a lot of unhealthy relationship dynamics that are happening in the spiritual community. There's a lot of unhealthy bullshit. There's a lot of toxic bullshit. And I don't ever want a woman who's in a toxic relationship to listen to me and to listen to my story and to say, this thing happened to Nath Hughes, and Nath Hughes is still wanting to be in a connection with this guy, and I respect Nath Hughes, so I'm going to stay in this connection with this guy who shouldn't even be allowed to know that I exist. You know what I mean? I don't want that. I don't want that for any woman in the world because of what I went through with the incident. So it's so hard for me to feel this connection to this guy who rejected me, question mark? Rejected me, question mark. Being psychic and being energetically sensitive to the feelings and emotions of other people is amazing and wonderful, and also the worst. Because sometimes as human beings, our actions say one thing and our emotions and energy say another. So when a guy rejects you and you're like, ouch, okay, that hurt. But then energetically, you're like, I don't understand. I feel that there's a connection here. And I also feel like you would like to be with me, ? I'm not understanding what's happening right now. I'm feeling really conflicted. That has been incredibly challenging for me to navigate. Because there are times and there are moments when I let myself like this guy who rejected me. And in those times and in those moments, when I let myself like the guy, I feel really happy. And I feel really aligned. And every time I let myself like the guy, I feel that I am taken even deeper into my heart's desires and alignment than ever before. Like, I had a dream. Okay, the first time that I ever visited New York City was after I decided to go there for college. Because I am a woman who makes choices based on faith and what feels right to her, and they typically turn out well. So when they don't turn out well, it's a little super disappointing, and that's okay, because emotions are okay and we just process them, so it's not that big of a deal. But anyway, I decided I'm going to New York City for college because that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I did. So in the summer, before I started college, there was like student orientation day. So I went to my student orientation, and the hotel that I booked, I went with my best friend at the time, ex-best friend, whose boyfriend, whose brother I had the situationship with. Yes, same girl. So I went with her to my college orientation. We both flew out to New York together. And the hotel that we got was in the middle of Times Square, like off of Broadway. Bitch. We get off the plane. We're in our Uber. First of all, why is our Uber driver eating yogurt? Like, it was just silliness. He's driving fucking crazily, which he's driving normal for like a New Yorker, but never experienced anything like this in my life. Me and my friend are looking at each other in the back seat like, oh my God. So he's like having his breakfast, driving like a lunatic. And we're getting close to the hotel, and it's so fucking crowded because it's Times Square and it's the middle of summer. It's so fucking crowded, so congested. You can't even see the fucking street, just nothing but crowds of people. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I just made the worst mistake of my life. I just made the worst choice in the history of choices. Why are there so many people? Why didn't I think that there would be so many people? Oh my God, this is so terrible. Like, I just starting to have a meltdown. I'm like, I don't understand. God, I thought that I was getting all the signs. What's happening? So we check into our hotel, and then we're like, let's go for a walk. Let's find some food, whatever. So we end up going for a walk, and if you're in Broadway and you keep going north, you're going to hit Central Park really soon. So we're walking, and we hit Central Park. And the further you get away from Times Square, the less congested it is with a whole bunch of people. And so I'm starting to feel just a little bit better. And I see this couple, And they both have on like workout outfits. And they've got this little baby in a stroller. And they have these like 2 little dogs. And when I saw those people, I thought to myself, I want that to be me. And I haven't thought about that in a long time. But it's something that I was thinking about the other day. Baby, time doesn't exist. It's Pisces season, okay? I was thinking about it previously. Could have been 5 minutes ago. I'm just kidding. Okay, so the point is, this dream and this idea and this desire. I'm sitting outside and I'm meditating. This is the other day. I'm sitting outside and I'm meditating and I'm thinking, and that desire comes back to me. And it's just like, wouldn't that kind of be beautiful and perfect to experience? A question mark? I don't know if I want that. Okay. But maybe I do. Okay. That's been my answer to myself a lot lately. Okay. I am going to get to the 3 principles, and it's all going to make sense after all of this storytelling, okay? Okay. So, there's this guy. And I feel such a deep connection to him on a soul level. And it makes me feel ashamed because he rejected me many years ago. But did he really? Question mark. And it also makes me feel scared to talk about it. Because I don't want women in my community to ever be in an unhealthy or unsafe relationship dynamic where they are not being loved and they choose to stay, especially because of anything that I've ever said. So what I've been realizing and what I've been understanding is that I don't want anyone to look at me and to look at my life and to think I should be making the choices that she's making. I want people to look at me and I want people to look at my life and I want people to learn from me. And I want them to take away that they can trust themselves and they can trust their heart's desires. And that's something that I haven't been doing, which is silly. Because I learned to trust myself back when I was dealing with the guy from the incident. I really, really live by the principle, the concept that whatever you resist persists. So that means when you don't like something and you push against and you push against and you push against, you end up just perpetuating what it is that you don't like, what it is that you don't want. So I've been spending so much time resisting so much, pushing away from an on-again, off-again relationship that I have created on-again, off-again relationships and connections. Because I will go, I don't want an on-again, off-again connection and relationship. So this relationship is done, except the relationship actually isn't done because I'm not done. And so now I want to come back, and now we're in an on-again, off-again relationship cycle. And this is not what I wanted. But it's what I focused on. And it's what I was available for. And it's what I believed was possible for me. Just a natural, normal consequence of my childhood experience. And it's not okay, but we can make it okay. So I don't blame myself and beat myself up for what I have unintentionally created. But I recognize it and I say, okay, what would I like to do moving forward? What would I like to begin practicing moving forward? I don't have to be perfect, but what would I like to begin practicing? And acceptance has been such a huge deal because going back to my connection with the guy from the incident, when I stopped being like, no, I can't like this, I can't want this, I allowed myself to feel however I felt about him. So there would be times when I would be like, I want to do a reading. So I would pull out my tarot cards and then I would pull a spread And then I would look at the cards, and then I wouldn't do like a full in-depth reading or analysis. I would just be like, looks like the same old bullshit. And then I would put my cards away. I stopped pushing against it. I fell into the feeling, and I kind of naturally vibed out, and I kind of naturally got bored, and I kind of naturally moved forward. But I wasn't just allowing myself to be obsessive when I wanted to be obsessive. That was a part of it. But another part of it was that I was still doing my healing work. So here's my point, and now we can get into the 3 principles 1 hour into the episode. It's okay for you to honor your feelings, and it's okay for you to honor that calling. And I don't want to parallel. I keep paralleling the incident to this current relationship just because it's the only really significant soulmate relationship that I have, but there's a lot of differences, and maybe I'll talk about them in this episode. We'll see, because we're already at an hour and I didn't want this to be a forever thing. Okay. So, it's okay to honor that feeling and honor that calling simultaneously, as long as you're also doing the work. So you honor the feeling, you honor the calling, you honor the desire, and you simultaneously do the work. And the work you're doing is the work to heal, the work to define and understand what a healthy relationship looks like for you, not what a healthy relationship looks like to somebody else, because, there's a lot of different things out there. Like there's, I've seen a post online about like relationships and like I don't remember the term that they were saying, but like having your partner brush your hair is not healthy because really you're being a little girl again and you're treating your partner like they're your parent. And it's like, I kind of understand that, but also if you grew up with parents who neglected you, and in your relationships, as a part of you healing from your past, you want your partner to brush your hair, I don't think that's a crime. And I don't think that that's inherently unhealthy, as long as you're doing the work to heal and integrate those inner children and become and be your most fully functioning adult self. I don't think that that's a crime. So there's a lot of things out there about what a quote unquote healthy relationship is. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't agree. It doesn't matter what I agree with. It doesn't matter what I disagree with. It matters what feels right for you. It matters what aligns with you. It matters what makes you feel fulfilled and what makes you satisfied and what makes you feel seen and you taken care of and you feel heard. And the thing about it is, excuse me, I keep fucking burping. Oh my God, please. I literally just woke up. I have not eaten. Okay. As you practice and deliberately tap into the vibration of a happy and healthy and fulfilling relationship, it must manifest and it must come in for you. So you can hold on to the vision and you can hold on to the desire as long as you're still doing the work. You can connect with the person and you can connect with your desire to be in connection and in relationship with that person as long as you're still doing the work. And as long as you practice or go about things in that way, one of two things will happen. As long as you hold the vision of the relationship that you want. Hold on, let me say that in a different way. As long as you... Oh my God, what is happening with my body right now? I'm so sorry. I had to scratch my ear. And then I couldn't think any thoughts while I was scratching my ear. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. You honor how you feel. You accept how you feel. You accept the relationship that you want. And you continue to do the healing work. and you continue to tap into the vibration of the relationship that fulfills you, the healthy relationship that fulfills you, either one of two things will happen. The first thing that can happen is that the guy that you desire will be the one. You will be right, and he will show up, and you will be together. Because you cleared space. Because you committed to living in the end and being a vibrational match to the relationship that you desire. And he will align because he is the one, and he will have decided to make his own choices, and you guys will make it work, and hallelujah. Or somewhere along the journey, you will manifest a mindset shift or an epiphany that shifts you in the direction of a different man. Because in manifestation, living in the end, becoming a vibrational match to your desires, you attract thoughts, you attract epiphanies. You don't just attract people, you don't just attract situations, you don't just attract circumstances, you attract thoughts and you attract ideas. And so if for some reason there is an unsupportive thought that is the reason that you're attracted to a specific man, as you continue living in the vibration of your desired relationship, you will attract a mindset shift. You will have an epiphany that makes you want to let that old man go because he's not actually your husband, or he's not actually your person. And at that point, you will be open to a new relationship. And even if that happens, it's still okay. And at that point, you won't really care. I mean, you might mourn, but you won't really care that you didn't get the guy you originally wanted, because you will still have the man of your dreams. Okay? At the end of the day, you will attract whatever it is that you believe you get to have and what you expect to have. You can't lose. But you're losing when you're fighting yourself. You're losing when you're not trusting your heart. What you resist persists. So trust yourself, go with your own flow, and commit to healing from your past relationship and familial wounds. You cannot go wrong when you're practicing those three. And those are my tips for navigating complicated soulmate relationships. I don't like to look at myself as a victim. But when I think about my life experience, I think about the fact that I grew up only getting one hug and one kiss a day from my mom, because anything more was just too much. I grew up having more experiences of physical violence and harm from men. I had more experiences of harm and violence from men than I did experiences of love and affection and kindness and care. I hate to paint myself as a victim, and at the same exact time, it is absolutely unfair to put myself up against people who have not experienced the relationships that I've experienced. So let's talk about the idea and concept of a twin flame, because this was very popular. I mean, it's probably still popular today, but I was more into it when I was 19 years old, right? We don't have to call it a twin flame. We can call it a soulmate connection, a complicated connection. I don't think that a complicated connection is only something that few people in the world ever get to experience and blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's that. I think it's something real, and I think it's something valid, and I also think it's a normal, natural consequence of PTSD, maybe complex PTSD, or interpersonal trauma, relationship trauma that you experienced in your childhood, that you experienced in your past. Soulmate relationships don't have to be complex, but when you're like me, and you come from abuse, and you come from neglect, and you come from abandonment, you didn't have a cookie cutter childhood, It's kind of fucked up of you to expect yourself to have a cookie cutter romance or a cookie cutter life. And it also just, it doesn't matter that much. What I'm realizing more and more is that what it looks like and how it comes together doesn't matter that much. And as I was meditating on this guy and this connection, which I wasn't even quote unquote supposed to be doing, because I had a moment where like I was done with the connection for like 6 months. And I just like was not thinking about him, and he just did not exist to me. And like, sure, sometimes he would pop into my mind, but I would just be like, nope, not going there. And then I would just move on. Like, he just didn't exist for me. And then I was answering journal prompts about what I want my life to be and where I want to move and the things I want to do and the dates I want to go on and the places I want to go and the kind of man that I want. And I was answering these questions and I was like, oh my God, I'm describing this guy. And so then I was like, I think that I want this guy. I think that I want this guy back, not a different guy. And it's interesting being in this connection and comparing it to the incident, because with the incident, I was really afraid and in lack. Oh my God, what if I don't ever find another guy who's as handsome as him, who wants to be with me, which breaks my heart. You swan, he frog. Do you guys know that? That kind of popular meme is like translated, I think it's translated from Chinese. I don't know. Basically, you were young and hot and turned, and he is bald. I'm sorry. Girl, you are young and hot and turned. And he is a million different fucked up things that I won't get into because we don't even need to be focused on that. But that's sad. That was never true. So I was connected to the guy from the incident, and I didn't want to walk away from the connection to the incident because of 1,000,001 different things. And this connection is so different. Because on the one hand, I just feel like, well, no, I totally could walk away from this connection and I would be okay. I know that I would be okay. Of course it would be okay. I would attract an amazing man because I attract amazing guys, and that's just the experience that I have, and that's just how I live. And I do. There are amazing men who are available to me, and there are men who are exactly the other specific things that I have said that I have wanted. But it just doesn't feel the same. And so I'm like, this is interesting. And it makes me feel freaked out, and it makes me feel scared, because I'm like, is this an inner child? I don't understand. You're not supposed to be feeling attached to people in these ways. This is not healthy. This does not make any sense. I like science. I like things that make sense. What is the inner child that is being triggered here? What's going on? Are you afraid of abandonment? Are you afraid of this? Are you afraid of that? And yes, I was meditating on it because I wasn't supposed to be thinking about him. I'm almost to that part. Well, I kind of forgot about that. Okay, I forgot about telling you that part of the story. Hold on. I got too fast. We have to go back. I answered my journal questions. I was like, I'm describing this guy, which is really interesting. I feel like fucking, when you're watching Scooby-Doo and something bad or scary happens, and Scooby is like, ruh-roh. That's exactly how I felt. I'm answering these journal questions, and I'm describing this guy that I have not allowed myself to think about for 6 months. And I go, ruh-roh. This is not what I want. This is not what I planned. And I've just got to say, I do not understand. I'm working on being a controlling person. Personally, I don't see it. They keep telling me I need to work on being controlling. I personally don't understand why they would even say that, but I am working on it. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I should be open to the guy. And then I am open to the guy, and things are kind of feeling good. And I'm kind of feeling agitated because I kind of just feel like the guy could message me and then everything would be okay. And also, I'm still clearing space and still doing my own thing. And then I run into my ex-best friend's brother. And then I'm like, oh, fuck this. And then it just feels like everything is triggered with men, which also makes sense because around the time when I was meeting with my embodiment coach, well, those sessions that I was doing with her, we talked a lot about men and healing from experiences with men. So, okay. I'm like, no, this is a bad idea. You should not be open to this guy. You should not be connecting with this guy. Not the... Oh my God, you guys, I'm sorry. I have to start over. Not the whole story. I just have to start that sentence over. So, I'm feeling like I should leave the guy who rejected me alone forever. I should not be thinking about him. I should not be open to him. Because this is the right thing to do. Because this is the thing that women with self-worth would do. Which is like so real. I would not allow myself to be in a negative experience, and I wouldn't be... It makes me feel afraid because it feels like a slippery slope. But also, there's no such thing because I know myself and I like myself, and it just makes me feel like, am I not loving myself? Am I not loving myself? But I am loving myself. I do love myself. I really do. I created a whole course on it. I'm the queen of self-love. And it just makes me feel like, am I loving myself so much that I would hold myself back from something that I want? Because if I give myself the thing that I want, then it's going to look like I don't love myself. Like, that's not self-love. And so I'm just realizing that things are complex. It's not black and it's not white. It's in the middle. You can be both. Meet in the middle. Dance all night. And I'm learning that. And I'm practicing that. And that's like literally where I am. And it's been difficult for me because I'm in the middle of launching Love After Loss. Well, I mean, it's on sale right now. It's been on sale for 20% off for like 2 fucking weeks, you guys. 3 fucking weeks, maybe. I do not feel like changing the landing page. So it's going to be 20% off for another week. Because I do not feel like changing the fucking landing page. And that's just going to be that on that. But it's been difficult for me to even talk about the course because I've been dealing with all of this shit in my personal, and just like, I was not ready to talk about it. I was not ready to teach about it because I was actively moving through it. So anyway, I say, no, I'm not supposed to be thinking about the guy. I shouldn't be liking the guy. I shouldn't be connecting with the guy. The guy rejected you. You're a woman with self-worth. Easy. This is the equation. Guy rejects you. You walk away from him. You never talk to him again. Easy. Simple. But it's not easy and it's not simple because it's a relationship and it's not a science. And you've also experienced trauma and all of these other things. And he's also experienced trauma. And so sometimes relationships are a little bit fucked up sometimes. And sometimes relationships are a little bit messy. And they should not ever be so messy where you feel unsafe. And they should not ever be so messy where you feel like you're going insane. Maybe they can be messy, but you still are taking care of your side of the street throughout the messy process. You're still healing. You're still learning. You're still doing your damn thing. And that's the formula. That's the formula. The formula is that a little bit of mess is okay as long as you continue on your own healing path and your own healing journey. It will come together. This is what I know to be true. And I know it to be true because I know manifestation. And the principles work, whether you're talking about money, you're talking about clients, you're talking about sales, you're talking about friendships, you're talking about travel, you're talking about homes, you're talking about cars, you're talking about clothes, you're talking about anything. It will manifest. It will show up. So, okay. I know that things will happen. I know that they will show up. Really quick example. I'm manifesting a bathing suit for me to go to the gym to swim because I love swimming so much. And perks of being a gym is like the heated pool. Oh my God, year-round swimming. So I just haven't had it in my budget to buy a swimsuit. And I made a new friend at the gym. And she was like, do you ever do the swimming? And I was like, yeah, but I have to get a bathing suit. And she's like, oh, I have some older, bigger bathing suits. And maybe you can fit them. So like, I'll bring them for you to try on. Like, what the hell? So I don't know if I'm going to get a swimsuit from her. But the point is, you remain a vibrational match to things. Shit shows up in your physical reality, even when you don't know how. So if you're dealing with a complicated soulmate relationship, you let things be messy. And this is how things get messy. So I said, no, I don't want to be with the guy. I'm not going to let myself want to be with the guy because it's wrong to want to be with the guy. So I'm not going to let myself want to be with the guy. And I'm just going to let him go. And everything is just going to be wrapped up so neatly. And it's just going to get kicked the fuck out of my life. Because I don't like drama. I might be dramatic. I might be an incredibly engaging storyteller. But I don't like drama and I don't like things that are just like messy and not being taken care of in my world. Drives me fucking crazy. So I'm like, just going to wrap this up, throw it out of my life. And then the night before my birthday, I have a dream. The night of March 11th, 2025, I have a dream. And it's a dream of the guy who rejected me. And I'm sleeping in his bed. Longest dream of my life. I slept in his bed for like 3 nights, 3 days. Million different fucking things happening in his house. Talking with his family. Well, mostly his dad kind of talking at me and not to me. Having breakfast. And there's just this vibe of commitment. It was so interesting. In one part of the dream, I'm sitting in his family home, like a childhood family home. I don't know what his childhood family home looks like, but it's definitely his childhood family home. So I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting in the kitchen, and his dad is talking to me. And every single time I have a dream about his dad, maybe his dad looks a little bit different, but the energy is always the same. And he's got this real authoritarian vibe. And he's talking to me about how he's raising his kids and how responsibility is so important. And as he's talking to me about the way that he's raising his kids and their responsibilities and all this stuff, I'm sitting on the bench and I'm thinking, that's good. I think that I'll raise our kids, me and his kids, with similar values. Maybe not the same level of intensity, but similar values. Like, I understand. He's got the right spirit. I don't know about his execution, but he has the right idea. So I'm having a moment like that. I'm having a conversation about kids. Earlier in the dream, the guy refers to me as his wife. Now I'm having a conversation internally about our children. We're very committed in this dream. And then at some point, while his dad is talking and we're sitting at breakfast, his dad is talking about his brother. And his dad is talking about how he wants his brother to do something in romance, basically, okay? Basically, he wants his brother to do something in romance. Basically, he wants his brother to have no romance, okay? He's like, what I want for my guy's brother is no romance, just work, just take care of responsibility. And in that moment, when his dad is saying that, it made me feel really insecure because I'm like, God, if you don't want his brother to have romance, then you probably don't want him to have romance either. But I've been sleeping here for 3 days. And I looked at him. I looked at the guy because I was feeling a little bit insecure. And when I looked at the guy, he gave me his hand. And it just felt so real. Like if he gave me a lineup of a whole bunch of men's hands, and you were like, whose hands belong to the guy? I could tell you. Like, crazy, it felt so real. I can feel it right now. So it's just really nice. And then there was another scene, and things have been good. Things were good in the dream. And so I woke up on my birthday, and then I cried. Because I was not supposed to have that dream on my fucking birthday, the night before my goddamn birthday. I was not supposed to have a dream like that about a guy who I don't want to be with, who I want to be with, who I don't want to be with. So I'm like crying. The first time I cry on my birthday. And then I cry again later for something kind of unrelated. Terrible morning, terrible start to my birthday. Then I got some weed. And I don't smoke often, but when I do, sometimes I might have a good epiphany and a good talk with God, angels, universe. So I'm smoking and I'm sitting and I'm meditating and I'm thinking. And I'm coming to all of these conclusions, and one of the main conclusions is me just kind of asking me, like, why are you pretending like that was a bad dream? That was such a good dream. That was one of the best dreams that I've ever had of that guy. And I had so many epiphanies that if I shared all of it, then we'd be here for like 3 fucking days. But that's not the point. The point is, I have had so many dreams about this guy. And it's like dreams in a progression. That is not the first dream that I've had of him in his family home. That is not the first dream that I've had of his father. That was probably one of the nicest dreams that I've had about his father. Not his father ever being mean to me, but just in general. So there's two parts of me. There's a part of me that wants the relationship and that wants the connection and that feels that there's something greater and something better and something sweeter, more available, and more destined in this connection. And then there's a part of me that thinks this man should not even know that I exist. And right now, I'm doing the thing that I feel intuitively guided to do, which is handle the part of me, or work with, that's what I'll say, work with the part of me that feels like the guy shouldn't know that I exist. Because over the past couple of days, I have had to get really real with myself. Really real with myself. Because when you lie to yourself, you only create confusion. I've been walking around saying, I don't know. I hate that phrase. Because you do know. You know everything. There's nothing that I don't know. When you're lying to yourself, you say, I don't know. That's not true. You do know, and you just don't want to admit it. And I need to understand what you know and what you don't want to admit. Because I hate this chaos, and I hate this confusion and this frustration and this back and forth energy. And I feel so happy, and I feel so aligned with my destiny when I connect with him. And I think back to my college experience, and I think back to when I was having my experience of phantom pregnancy, which was crazy. And I was connecting with this adorable spirit baby. And I thought that I was going to be with the guy from the incident, and I was going to have this spirit baby. And the name of the spirit baby was so clear to me. And long story short, the name that was so clear to me of my spirit baby is the same name as this guy. Well, his middle name, but that's not the point. The point is that it just feels like something in my heart and in my soul is like, this is my person, and this is who I'm going to be with. And I just know it inside of me. And it makes no sense at all, but I know it inside of me. And I've been sitting with myself for the past couple of days, and I've been thinking about it. And I have never steered me wrong. I have made mistakes. I have had opportunities to learn, blah, 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 blah. I have never felt something in my heart and been wrong. I felt that I was meant to own a business. I felt that I was meant to serve. I felt that I was meant to make more money for my offers. I felt that I was meant to attract sales daily. I felt that I was meant for more. And that was true. And I kind of have enough self-trust and self-esteem to trust myself and to trust my intuition and to trust what I know and to trust what I feel. And simultaneously, I hold on loosely. Because either the guy that I think is the guy is going to be the guy. And it will come together however. Or I will attract a mindset shift, an epiphany. I will heal whatever inner child is being triggered that I have not found. And I will be guided to my guy. But not this guy, a different guy. You know what I'm saying? The ultimate guy, the married guy, the husband. The point is, I get to trust myself. I get to go with the flow of my feeling. I get to feel connected to him when I feel connected to him. When I feel that I'm not interested or I don't want it, I get to honor that and I get to honor those feelings. I don't force myself to do either. When I want it and I'm into it and I want to look into it and I want to feel into it, great. When I don't want it and I'm not there and it's not happening for me and I'm just not interested, that's fine. And I'm just going to go with that flow and trust myself, honor that flow, and continue to hold the vibration of the fulfilling love relationship that I want, because it must come in regardless. And I do the work to heal the past traumas. That's the work. That's the vibe. And no matter what, I totally get married at the end of this, no matter what. That was never in question. And that's where I am. That's my intimacy with you guys for the episode. Those are my principles. I didn't post an episode last week. This might go out Sunday or Monday. I'm not sure. So maybe this is the last episode of the month, because this is like an hour and 36 minutes. So maybe that works. I don't know. We'll see how much storage I have left for the month. If I have enough, then there will be another. Well, there probably was going to be. Damn. What fucking day is that? I don't know. Maybe there's going to be another episode. Maybe there's not. The point is, worst comes to worst, I'll talk to you again at the beginning of April. Love After Loss, my amazing, wonderful course, is currently on sale for 20% off. It's not just a course on how to manifest a relationship. There's a module on that, calling in love, getting clear. But it's a relationship on healing from the past and processing and doing all of the things that you have to do to grieve and move on from past heartache and past childhood stuff. That's the important work that I suggest you commit to doing regardless. And either you'll align, you'll make space, you'll call in the guy, or you'll heal and you will lose the attraction to him because you healed the unhealed parts of you that were attracted to him. Either way, you win. Either way, you get a fulfilling relationship. Either way, you get an amazing guy. Either way, you get an amazing connection. And I've never heard it discussed or talked about in that way. Every other relationship I've heard that is kind of similar, they're like, I walked away from him completely. I just completely let everything go. And that's not where I am, and that's not who I am. So, this is where I am. And this is what's alive within me. And I hope that it helps you. And yeah. Okay. I love you. And I'll talk to you either next week or the week after that. Okay. Bye-bye.